Shut up and sit down. Shut up and sit down.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of Build, Paint, Play. I'm Dave.
And I'm Jake, and we're glad to be here with you guys. It's just us today. We're flying solo.
It's kind of...
Or tandem, I guess.
Duo, tandem, yes. It's kind of weird. It's been a while since we've just had the two of us.
I think so.
Yeah. We can relax.
Agenda free.
Agenda free? Well, we have an agenda.
We do, but it's our agenda.
It is our agenda. We always have one. It doesn't always get spoken, but we always have an agenda. Awesome. So starting off, we're going to say hi to folks in the chat. Hi, Luis. Hi, Dan. Josh Sawyer is here. Scott is here, and Matt is here. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's going to be... I'm not sure how long the show is going to be tonight. It might be a little bit shorter because there are fewer people talking. It could be that, but also Jake's not feeling particularly well, so that's something that
it has been a week. It has been a week, and it's only Tuesday.
Yep. What's going on? What's been the craziness for the week?
All right. So this story is just kind of ridiculous. So. I'm getting ready for work yesterday. I go outside, I get in the car, and literally step into my car, and I hear splash. And I'm like, I look down, and it's like I've stepped into a puddle in my car.
Like, do you step through the floor of your car, or
like I'm just in the car, and I'm like, what? So I look down, and I have like those rubber, like sealed floor mats. Yep. The ones that have like a lip, because obviously it snows up here and stuff. So I look down and it's like full of water. So I'm like, that's weird. I'm like, did I leave the sunroof open or my windows cracked? And I'm like looking around. I'm like, no, everything's closed. So I open the door, dump out my floor mat, and I notice that the carpet is soaked.
Right.
And I don't mean like wet. I mean like I put my hand on it and it was like a soaked sponge. Like it flooded with water as soon as I touched it.
Oh wow.
So I was like, that's weird. So I look on the passenger side and it's dry. And I look in the back seat, it's dry. The seats are dry. I'm like, I don't understand what happened. So I start driving to work and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take it to the mechanic. It's on the way. So I stop at the dealership, drop my car off. And the guy's like, yeah, he's like, it sounds like a sunroof. And I was like, wouldn't my seats be soaked? And he's like, no, because it runs down like the, you know, the stanchions, like where the windows are. So, you know, maybe it's that. I'm like, all right. So he's like, we'll look at it. And I'll call you tomorrow. He's like, we're gonna have to keep it overnight. I'm like, that's fine. So go to work, whatever, get home last night, came home, watched the Bruins game. That was great. The Bruins won.
Okay.
So then
I'm glad we heard the end of that particular story though.
Yeah. So that was good news. So then today they call me and the guy's like, yeah, so it's just what I thought. He goes, so every car that has sunroofs, they have these two little like drains or like channels that like anytime water gets into the sunroof like enclosure, it just ports it down and dumps it out of the car.
Yep.
And he's like, it looks like one or both of yours is jammed and it's like a dam. So like instead of the water going down that channel, it just backs up. And there was enough that it spilled out and ran down the tracks and like soaked your car. And he's like, it's only on the one side. It looks like just the way the car was parked, it must have run down just one side. He's like, but we're gonna have to like rip out all your carpeting and rip out your headliner and replace all that stuff. And I was like, all right. I was like, how much is this gonna cost me? And it was like a ridiculous number.
Yeah.
So I called my insurance company and I called the guys. I was like, I can't come in today. I have no way to get there. I'm dealing with the stuff. And Brandon and Ben were like, yeah, you know, it's all good. Do what you got to do. So now it's at the dealership and they're like, we're waiting for the assessor to come out, but we didn't want to fix anything because we want him to see the damage. And I was like, right. So I called my assessor today and they were really nice. Like at first they were like, I don't know if they're going to cover this. And then our assessor was like, it should definitely be covered. And I was like, all right, cool. So, but I was just like, oh man, like not how I wanted to start my week.
Yeah, that's not a good start for sure.
Yeah, it was not great.
Chris has joined us and Josh is here and Josh says you need some silicone cork, sheet metal, and self-tapping screws. Seal that puppy off.
Nope.
I would say with my my PT Cruiser that I used to have, I had a 2001 PT Cruiser. At one point, I had a similar sort of thing happen. Although I smartly did not take it to the dealership and instead used some silicone cork and seal that puppy up.
So the issue is
I put a humidifier in my car until everything was dry.
But so the issue is like it's not the seal.
Yeah, I know.
It's the drains.
Oh yeah, well I sealed it so that there was no way that any water was going anywhere near any drains.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, it couldn't get to it to be clogged.
Yeah, dude, it was crazy, man. I was just like unbelievable. So I mean, again, I have comprehensive insurance, so they should cover it. My agent called me back today and he was really nice and he's like, we'll send out the assessor tomorrow. We'll take a look at it. So again, I was just like, oh God, really? Like, really?
I'm sorry, dude.
But yeah, anyways.
Boo. It's been much more quiet for me, I think. So that's good. Doing lots of fun stuff, some mini painting and some preparing for the Kickstarter. So,
what are those in front of you? What's that light gray sprue?
This one?
Yeah.
This sprue, that's from Cursed City.
Oh, okay.
And I've used that. I built some of the characters from that. It's like the Mystic from that is going to be my one of my Inquisitors.
Nice.
A little servo skull and
that whole set is really nice.
Yeah, it is great. And then the other Mystic looking dude is actually going to be a Mystic with no zero conversion.
That's an awesome mini.
Yeah. That's great. So yeah, I've got those sitting there. But I was also looking do I convert some of the others? There's the Witch Hunter in there would be another great Inquisitor, but I already have that. The guy from the Underworld's warband.
Nice.
So.
Oh, so that's not from that sprue?
No, it's not that guy. There are a lot of guys with sort of that Witch Hunter look. There are a lot of models. GW has probably 6 or 7 of them now. You
say Witch Hunter, I say Pilgrim. He looks like a pilgrim.
Sure. Well, he doesn't have buckles on his shoes.
Only if you paint them.
Oh, you have to paint them on, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why I go for Witch Hunter. That's the difference. Fantastic. Oh, I was going to say, Chris Cummings said duct tape and Bondo. Fix anything.
Yeah, again, I don't want to have to MacGyver my new car. Like, it's not. I'm not doing that.
And Scott said, PT Cruiser. Yikes. Just yikes. Yeah, indeed. I agree. Yikes. Cal has joined us. Hi, Cal. And Josh says, love those Witch Hunter minis. Yep. Oh, yes. He is also not carrying a cornucopia.
You could totally green stuff a cornucopia, Dave. I believe in you.
I could. Chris Gorka has joined us as well. Fantastic. Hi, Chris.
Are they still making Curse City?
I don't know.
I'm gonna check on their website.
But I used all of the. Basically, I've painted up all of the.
Yep. Yeah, they're still making Curse City.
Yeah, I painted up all the bad guys already. So this is the last sprue that I had in that box set.
Oh right, it's Blackstone Fortress is the one that they made a. I don't know why they discontinued. That game is fantastic.
Yeah. But they're still making Blackstone Fortress.
I thought they continued that.
Oh no, the core game is still being sold, but the expansions are not available.
Oh yeah, you're right. You can only get.
Yeah.
Well, I guess technically you can buy the Chaos Lord, who was supposed to come with Chaos Marines.
Okay.
Or he comes in that box, actually.
Yeah. Yes. Just says Space Hulk would like a word. Space Hulk would indeed like a word.
All the minis in that box are great.
Yep. They are cool. I'm excited to see what the how things go with the new Chaos Space Marine Codex.
Yep.
Because I have that 30k Word Bearers army that could I suspect could be quite easily ported across to 40k. So
yeah, I think you could do that.
Yep, I will definitely check that out. I've got a lot of Chaos Cultists just sort of sitting around waiting for a reason to be painted. And yes, excellent. So should we jump into it? Do you think?
Yeah, sure.
Yep, cool. Matt Bob says Battlefleet Gothic sits in a corner and cries.
Fantastic game.
It does sit in the corner and cry. I'm not big into spaceship battle games.
Oh, I love Gothic. I had a huge Imperial Navy for Battlefleet Gothic. It's so funny. So we do like a flea market like every 6 or 8 months, and people can come in and bring their stuff and like sell whatever. And we'll usually give people store credit for it.
Yep.
But like some kid came in and really wanted to play Battlefleet Gothic. So he was like, "Do you have any?" And I was like, "Well, I have my Navy." And I was like, inevitably they're going to reprint it. And when they do, I'm going to want to upgrade all my stuff. Right. So I was like, "Yeah, I'll sell you mine." So I have the original book, the second book that came out, and then a massive fleet. And he was like, "Okay, cool." So I was like, "Yeah, I'll sell it to you." He's like, "What do you want?" I was like, "I don't know, like $400, $450." And he was like, "All right, cool." So he's like, "I can give you $100 today." And I was like, "Sure." And then he came back again and gave me $100. Yep. And then he's never come back to pay off the rest. And it was like a year and a half ago. I don't have any of his information.
Oh.
So I'm like,
somebody made some choices there.
Yeah. I was like, all right.
Yeah. Boo. We'll set up a GoFundMe for you.
It's all. I mean, well, no. I still have the stuff.
Oh, you still have the stuff? Okay.
Yeah, I was like, once you pay it off, I'll give you everything. He was like, okay.
Oh, then somebody else makes a bad decision.
Yeah, I was like, so at this point, like, I'm plus $200 is basically like.
Yep. Excellent.
Yeah, dude, I never would have given him my stuff without him paying for it. Like, that's not.
See, that's where you're an differ, which is why I was thinking that this is very strange. This doesn't sound like Jake.
Nope.
There we go. Scott says, and that boy went on to run Vallejo plates.
Well, again, he would have, but like he basically paid me $200 to not give him my Battlefleet Gothic, and I was like, all right.
Yeah. Lee has joined us. Hi, Lee. Welcome. Thanks for staying up late. Let's jump into the show and all the things that we've got ready to go on with it. I'm going to again, talk my way through all of it. Clicking. So, of course, first up is us thanking our sponsor, the Army Painter. Thank you very much, Army Painter, for your season sponsorship. This popped up 3 days ago on the Army Painter Instagram page. So, Thomas on the left and Stefan on the right, the two studio painters for the Army Painter. And they're going to be doing a paint off for BattleTech. I thought this was something that you would like to see, Jake.
Dude, I love it. Me and the guys were playing BattleTech last night, the role playing game. The models are so good. Like they're like board game quality plastic, and they all come pre-assembled.
Yep.
And there's so much detail on them. They paint up so nice, like with the speed paints and stuff.
Yep.
Prime them, hit them with a speed paint. Go online, do like wear and like details and stuff, and they look like $1 million.
Yep. Matt says red versus blue has gotten real weird. I was going to say in the text it talks about find out which method of painting will come out on top. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. My thought is looking at that Thomas has 3 mechs. Looks like they're done with speed paints.
Yep, and the one on the right's done traditional.
Yeah, so traditional style base coats and layering. So I have a feeling that speed painting is going to win the day.
I mean, it depends on what they're trying to do. If they're going for just quantity, then yeah,
sure.
If they're going for like overall effect, like again, it's because there's so much texture on those minis.
Right.
I mean, again, looking at the red ones, you can see how much like texture and armor plating and like little detail lines and like sort of edges there are. So It shows up so nicely.
Yeah. Yes. But it should be good. I think at some stage we'll have to have Thomas on as a guest.
Oh, for sure.
Talk about painting all of his BattleTech. But Matt is in the chat has said wash his hands and call his mum. Yes, love that. But the pigments. So yeah, they did put out a fun little reel the last couple of days where Adam is berating Thomas for using his hand as a palette. Go and check it out. But no, all good. Or Lee says loves BattleTech Classic. Alpha is good too. Great games.
Yeah, the minis are really cost effective too.
Right.
Like you can get a lance. I think a lance is, I think it's $20 or $25, and it's 4 mechs, and then you can get a star, which is a clan sort of detachment, and it's 5 mechs, and those are like I think 30.
Okay.
So you're talking like all the mechs are basically like $6, which is great.
And a game is usually how many?
So if we're playing BattleTech,
yep,
a normal game is like anywhere between 4 and 8 mechs on each side total.
Okay.
Just because like it would take you forever otherwise. It's kind of like halfway between Titanicus and like a game of Battleship.
Right.
So like every time you shoot at something, you have to figure out like where did I hit it?
Right.
And I hit it in the right arm, the left arm, the torso, the left torso, the right torso, the leg, the head.
Yeah.
When you're playing Alpha Strike, which Lee mentioned, Alpha Strike sort of summarizes a lot of those rules and slims it down, so you can play like full companies, which is like 12 mechs. You could do 24 mechs. Like it's much bigger, but it's super fun. But it's if you want to play a game and have it last about this normal amount of time, like an hour and a half,
right,
4 to 8 mechs is pretty standard. If you want to do, you could definitely. I mean, you could absolutely do bigger games. There's nothing saying you can't. It's just if you want to have it be done in like an hour or two.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Like I mean, I agree with Chris. Like I don't typically play 4 to 8 mech games. I play bigger games, but like again, if you're trying to get like Kill Team is great because you can knock out a game of Kill Team in like an hour.
Right.
And like if you were playing Spearhead or once Spearhead comes out, or if you're playing Combat Patrol, you can play Combat Patrol in about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
To keep it in that same range, you're talking like 4 to 8 mechs.
Right. Okay. Cool. Sean Gleason has joined us. Hello, Sean.
What's going on?
Very cool. Thanks for joining us. Next up, this is sort of my plug session where so Hans Rayner is a friend of the Massive Voodoo team. So he has been doing some reviews for the Art of books. He's got 2 reviews up on the Massive Voodoo blog now. So the Art of Volume 1 and the Art of Volume 2. So if you want to get some in-depth, detailed reviews of the books, you can go and check those out. They are so the first review, this one that we've got showing on screen here, is linked in the show notes below. But you can go to massivevoodoo.blogspot.com and find the reviews there as well.
Nice.
Cool. Lee says, Dave, Alvarez open table like 40K with inches. Classic is on the hex board.
Yep.
Right. Cool. And Sean is painting some more Legion Imperialis dreadnoughts. Nice. So, Jake, did you get a chance to do any hobby over the week? You played some BattleTech RPG.
Yeah, so I did a little hobby. So I played some BattleTech RPG. I actually played some BattleTech, the video game, which plays like BattleTech on the tabletop. It's a hex-based movement game.
Right.
That was super fun. So I've been playing that, and then I did something I haven't done in a while. So I used to collect hockey cards when I was a kid. And I have a massive collection.
Yeah.
But I don't have any of the new Bruins. So I went out and I got Linus Ullmark and Jeremy Swayman.
Okay.
From a local card shop, like literally like a block away from us at work. So that was kind of fun. And again, like I said, I haven't had hockey cards since I was like, well, probably, I mean, not like a little kid. I started when I was a little kid, but I was probably in college and stuff when I stopped collecting. Yep. So I was like, I want to get some of the Bruins cards. So I went out and did that. And then I picked up some new paints for to finish up the Space Marines.
Okay.
I picked up the Army Painter Plasma Coil Glow.
Right.
And I picked up
some death metal.
No, I not yet, because I'm almost done with the army, and if I use that, I'm gonna want to use it on a bunch of stuff. So but I picked up the dry rust, the old rust, and the blood for Army Painter.
Yep.
So
cool.
How about yourself? Would you paint another 2,000 point army?
Yeah, I did.
Nice.
Hope you don't mind. Is that okay? No, I painted up some more stuff for my sludge army. These guys are really super quick to paint, which is nice. So the particular way that I'm doing it so that there's a big lighting focus on the front, and the back of the models is much duller, much more dull.
Nice.
So dark blues, dark brown, sorry. There's gray, blue in the shadows. And yeah, just keeping everything sort of fairly dull and pushing the focus to the front of the models.
What color did you prime them?
I primed them black, and then I hit them from the underside, underside of the back in the Army Painter deep blue spray. And then from the underside at the front with the oak brown spray, and I also get the back from the top. And then the final is the fur brown spray from Army Painter from the top at the front. Not at all complex. But when you're doing like 10 or 12 at a time, it's pretty easy to do. Yeah. So that makes it a lot quicker as well.
Nice. They are nice looking models.
Yeah. And oops, sorry. Some wrong buttons here. Then I also painted up some of the foot knights. Oh, these are the Crusaders, which are all pretty cool. They've got a big, crazy sort of helm. It's like kind of like a great helm, but it sort of flares out a little bit at the bottom.
But so they're not multi-base?
No, they're individually based. They're pretty pricey. Like, so one of those guys on a 25 mil base is the same points cost as like three guys with muskets on a 40 mil round.
Okay.
So it's just the line infantry and the commanders that are multi-based. Oh, and probably the cannon crew. Just before the show, I was also painting up some of the scouts, and the scouts are individually based as well.
Right on.
So they're coming along. So
they look good. I like them.
Yeah, they're going well. On the weekend, I also painted up, particularly, really because it was May the 4th. On Saturday, I painted up some. When I switch back and forth, it's tough. There we go. Some Shatterpoint stuff.
Very nice.
So this is
this was actually really fun to paint. I painted this unit. I really liked this.
Yeah, they were cool. They were good. So obviously I've seen Bo-Katan in Mandalorian.
Well, you've seen all of them in the Mandalorian.
Yeah, true. But I didn't really feel that I had a good sort of grasp on Ahsoka Tano, because I haven't watched any of the Clone Wars or Rebels or whatever she's in, any of the animated stuff. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go and watch the live action show now.
It's great.
On Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday morning, I binge watched it all.
What do you think?
All 8 episodes. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I was struggling to work out where it fit in the timeline, so I had to look that up.
Ahsoka or this batch of miniatures?
Well, not so much this batch of miniatures, but the show, the live action show. Because I was like, hang on, wasn't she trained by Anakin Skywalker? And why isn't he showing up? Why have they got helmets sort of stored in the corner?
If you do the actual breakdown, it goes: Ahsoka gets introduced in the Clone Wars, the cartoon, which happens between episodes 2 and 3. So that's where Ahsoka gets introduced. And then you have the Clone Wars, and then at the end of the Clone Wars, she has this big falling out, and she like gets separated from Anakin. So when Order 66 happens, nobody knows where she is. Okay. So she's just like, she's missing. Nobody knows where she is. And then she's in the Rebels cartoon, which takes place after episode 3, but before A New Hope.
Okay.
And then you've got actually, I guess Rebels is kind of like right around the same time as New Hope. I think it's like right before it, or it's either right before it or during it. And then Ahsoka's in that a little bit because she's like training Sabine. Okay. And then again, they kind of get separated at the end of that show. And then when you've got the Mandalorian takes place after Return of the Jedi.
After 6, yeah.
And then and Ahsoka's in like season 2 or 3 or something of Mandalorian, and then Luke is in that. Remember, because like there's the whole scene where like Luke rescues the baby, and then you've got then after that you've got like the season 3 of Mandalorian, and then Ahsoka is after that. So it's after her run-in with Grogu, she like kind of goes off on her own, and that's where the show takes place.
Right. Cool. Yeah. But I made sure I wanted to watch it so that I could sort of do a reasonable job of painting her. And then it was like, hang on, this is not the same timeline. This is not the same.
She's older. She's older in Ahsoka than this miniature is representing.
Yeah, but she's wearing a different outfit as well. So okay, I'm just going to copy the box art and went for there. But yeah, I really enjoyed painting these models. They're super cool. Had a lot of fun with the basing too. Just with some really simple stuff. But yeah, definitely good. Checking the chat. I was going to say, Sean said he's painting more Legion Imperialis Dreadnoughts. He also played Old World and Titanicus.
Nice.
Josh says last weekend's hobby engagement, yet another paint and take, and getting people signed up to IG accounts of sponsors. Fantastic. Chris said he's painting Legion Imperialis Ogren. It just said 54 participants in the paint and take in an underserved area. Several parents were asking where to get supplies for their kids. Did he send them to Alpha Omega Hobby? We might need to when I do sponsor your paint and takes, Josh.
I will, dude. I will mail stuff anywhere.
Josh Sawyer said, "Neat. Are you guys playing Shatterpoint or just painting it?" I've just been painting it for a commission. I don't think I'd be able to wrap my head around another system. I have enough.
I've played it. It's Dave. It's not hard. It's a really easy system.
Right.
I've played it. Ben and I painted up our set for the store. So I painted this unit of 4, and then I painted all of the good guys. So I painted these 4, and then I painted Rex and his 2 troopers, and then I painted Asajj Ventress because they were all the same color palette. And then Ben painted all of the good guys or all of the bad guys except for Asajj. He painted Anakin.
Okay, pretty. That's cool. I have here's my Anakin here. I didn't take a photo of him, but. I should go to big picture, shouldn't I?
Yeah, you should.
There we go. Well, let's try this big picture.
Oh, there you go.
Even closer.
Very nice.
So yeah,
did a great job on his hair too. His hair looks all like lit,
like sheeny. Yeah,
that's nice.
That was just using mixing some of the ice yellow in. I've really been enjoying the Fnatic ice
I like
yellow.
how you use the Chris Gorka thing where you left like the base of the lightsaber white and then like faded it up.
Yeah, yep. I decided
very
to
nice.
Take that path. Copying Chris there. But yeah, so that was fun. That was good. Cool. Dan said the Youngling Slayer 9000 looks real good.
Dude, we were talking about those movies the other day at work. Like, I know that as a Gen Xer, like I have a much different take on the prequel trilogy. Like
Right.
when I remember seeing Empire Strikes Back in a drive-in with my parents, and then seeing Jedi in a theater, like when I was in middle school, and loved them. So then when they were like, there are going to be 3 new Star Wars movies, my friends and I all freaked out. Like, I think we were all like in college and we were super excited and like I remember we went to a midnight showing of Phantom Menace and I was really, really pumped to see it. And we went and we watched it. And afterwards I was like, that was okay. Like the part of me that wanted a new Star Wars movie was really excited. And the part of me that was rational and understood how storytelling worked was really not excited.
Not excited.
And then that was followed by episode 2, which for my money is one of the worst films ever made. Like from a strictly storytelling part,
right.
The analogy I always give people is, so imagine if you went to see Lord of the Rings and it starts off and there's a flashback sequence or not even flashback sequence. There's old Sam and old Frodo, and they're sitting on a porch swing out in front of one of their hobbit holes. And old Frodo looks at old Sam and goes, "Have you seen my ring?" And then old Sam goes, "Do you remember the time that we took the ring to the Mount Doom and we had all of our friends with us and we destroyed the ring?" And Frodo goes, "Oh, I do remember that." And then they're both like, "Good times." And then that's the movie, because that's effectively what episode 2 is. Episode 2 starts, there's a crazy space battle, and then the next sequence is Anakin and Obi-Wan in an elevator. And that elevator scene is the throwaway, like, let's reminisce about how we're such good friends because we've been on all these crazy adventures together, right? Because we're best friends, right? And Anakin's like, absolutely, that's why we're best friends. And then the elevator doors open, and I was like, you just used as a throwaway scene the most seminal part of this entire franchise.
Right.
Because like when Phantom Menace ends, Anakin is Jake Lloyd. He's a little kid. He's a 6-year-old.
Yep.
And the only lines they have are Ben Kenobi introduces himself at the end of the movie. And that's it. And then the new movie starts. Anakin is now like, I don't know, in his 20s. And he's like flying through space and they're fighting all this stuff. And you're like, whoa, what happened in between that? And they're like, don't worry about it.
Yep. Don't worry.
They're like, we just established in that elevator conversation that we're best friends and we have over a decade of experience. Like, just don't worry about it. And I was like, oh wait. And then the rest of the movie it just goes downhill from there. It's
anyway, we're not here to talk about
that's true.
About the prequels. I shouldn't have shown any Star Wars stuff at all. Anyway, I'm going to move right along and I'm going to skip over all of the comments in the chat. Except for Scott, who said, great work on that, Dave. So yes, very happy with how those guys are turning out. Anyway, moving right along, jumping into creating contrast. So yes, for a quick explanation, we were going to have Paul Murphy from Forge the Narrative, the Forge the Narrative podcast, and also he's the color commentator for the GW Twitch stream at major tournaments and events and that kind of thing. We're going to have a chat about all sorts of stuff. He discovered that the timing of an event, a family event that he thought was happening earlier today, was actually happening tonight. He discovered that last night, so we had to make a quick swift shift. So he's going to be joining us next week. So we can have all that wonderful conversation again then. Well, not again, but we have that wonderful conversation then. And in the meantime, I wanted to have a quick chat about creating contrast and talking about different types of contrast. So I don't think I've had this conversation with you, Jake, at all about it.
I don't think so.
So if I say creating contrast, what do you think I'm talking about?
So I usually use contrast a lot as like pops of color. So like if I'm painting like a lot of warm tones, I'll use a cool tone, or vice versa. If I'm using a cool tone, I'll use a warm tone, or if I'm using a neutral tone, I'll use a more established tone. I always try to have something that kind of like Chris is great with this, right? Like he does a lot of his he uses like saturated versus desaturated. Like those are kind of his contrasts. So I think a lot of it is you're just trying to create like interest or movement or effect in the piece.
Okay. Radio. So things that you use there, you used temperature as a contrast, and you talked about desaturation as a contrast.
Yeah.
There are when I think about contrast, I think about 6 different things. I think there are another couple that some folks use as well, but I don't usually think about those. But I thought tonight we can go through and talk about the different contrasts that we can look at. First one is hue contrast. So Scott says temperature, hue, and value contrast. I think so. I'm going to use, when you talk value, Scott, I'm going to use tone. I should probably switch to value. That might be a better idea. But hue contrast is the first one I'm going to talk about because it's the one that most people will think about when they're talking about a color scheme, creating a color scheme. So up on the screen, we've got the color wheel there. This is a fairly standard color wheel. I know that there are a few variations on a theme, but this one has a light blue, kind of almost a cyan, a red, and a green. No, yellow. What is it? Yep, there it is, yellow. As sort of the primary triad of colors there. And then the secondary colors, purple, green, and orange in there. And then this particular one has a few more shades in between, or hues in between, mixed in there. The general idea is that to create maximum contrast with hue, you'll choose 2 colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel. So a classic example would be red and green, blue and orange, purple and yellow.
Yeah, think of sports teams. Sports teams are notorious for doing this. Like the Minnesota Vikings have a purple uniform with yellow accents.
Yep.
or the Minnesota Wild, which is a hockey team. They have Christmas colors, so it's green with red. So yeah, like sports teams are great at doing this, about taking contrasting colors and making it that way.
I think there are a bunch of college teams that are orange and with a blue accent.
Yep.
As well. Josh says black and white pictures can help you tune contrast. Save that for when we get to the the tone. But yeah. So that's the sort of the classic example. So having access to a color wheel is always handy. If you are near your computer or a phone or anything that can access the internet, you will always have a color wheel.
Or if you buy any of the Army Painter paint sets, or if you go into a store and they have the little free pamphlet, there's a color wheel in there.
Right. Yep. So hue contrast is the first thing we're going to talk about. Well, we're talking about how it can work. I wrote a bunch of articles for Game Trade magazine, probably about 3 years ago now, on these different types of contrast. And this was an example that I'd painted previously for Game Trade magazine. This is one of the cyberpunk models from Monster Fight Club. And
her double guitar is pretty great.
Yeah, the double neck guitar for sure. But the colors that I've used here, that purple / magenta for her boots and her hair, is balanced by the yellow in the guitar. There's the hue contrast there. But also, as you see in the guitar, so that I'm not keeping it completely in a very sort of obvious yellow purple kind of thing, I throw in a little bit of green in there. Oops, sorry, which is opposite the on the color wheel there, next to the yellow. There are different
Scott, you are correct. If you mix two contrasting colors, they typically give you brown.
Yeah, if you've got pure pigments, that will give you a brown. A lot of hobby paints don't have pure pigments, so your results may vary. You won't always get brown, but generally, yeah, you'll get that.
You'll get something brown adjacent.
Brown adjacent. It may remind you of poop. Looking at the color scheme that I'm working on for my sludge army, going back to there, I'm working with that magenta as a purple sort of substitute.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's
the purple and the yellow.
The magenta you picked is a complementary color to the purple. It's not a true contrast, but it's contrast adjacent. It's off by off by like a tone.
Yeah, complementary to the yellow. Yes.
Yep.
And also the neutral colors that I'm using there, the brown has a lot of orange in it. It's much more towards that orange. So in the blacks, I'm working in some blue for that contrast as well, the hue contrast there. So that's a sort of a key thing to think about as you're picking your color schemes. Hue contrast is an important thing. And I think a lot of people probably know that at the moment. The next thing I've got is tonal contrast. Maybe it's not value. Maybe it doesn't work the same as value here. But I always talk about models making sure you've got a mid-tone, a dark tone, a mid-tone, and a light tone on your model when you're setting up a color scheme. If you have all dark tones, if all of your colors are dark, so if you've got a dark green, a dark red, you will have hue contrast, but you won't have tonal contrast, and your model is going to feel very dark. If you've got bright pink and bright yellow in there, your model is going to look bright, unless you have something that's going to bring it back down. So some black or dark browns in there.
I always kind of end up with like I don't want to say mid-tone, but I always kind of end up kind of somewhere in the middle because my mindset is, and I tell people this a lot when I do painting lessons, which is every color that you want is actually 3 colors. So if you want your Marines to be red, you need a medium red that's the basic color. You need a tone or a shade that's going to be like the darker version. And then you need a highlight or an edge that's a lighter, like a bright red or an orange or something to pick out the detail. So in order to get that red to look like red, you need all 3 of those. Otherwise, it just looks like a flat blob with no color and edges.
Well, no definition. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. I think yes, within. So I always say within color schemes, miniature color schemes, when you're choosing that, you want to have something that is your dark tone, something that is your mid tone, and something that is your light tone. Within those choices, shades, mid tone, and highlights are important to give you that definition. So I always use Dark Angels as a classic example of this. The Dark Angel armor is a dark green. They're often accented with like bone chest eagles or purity seals or other markings, that kind of thing. The symbol on the shoulder, the chapter symbol, is going to be bone. That's your dark, and then you have your light.
So your red is your mid-tone.
Red is the mid-tone. Yeah, if you're looking at black at one end of the spectrum, white at the other end of the spectrum, and red is going to fall in the middle.
I think I do this by accident a lot. Like like even on my flesh eaters.
Yep.
Like and again, so to be fair, like I went to art school and I used to paint, so like I understand like color theory, but I think I do a lot of it without even thinking about it.
Right.
So when I painted my flesh eaters, I wanted them to look very clean. So my red is obviously my mid-tone. And then all of their weapon casings are black. And then all of their highlights are either white or silver. So without even thinking about it, I ended up doing a low, a mid, and a high without sitting down to go, I need to pick out a low, a mid, and a high.
Yeah. Let me work out what I'm going to do. So you've created a tonal contrast across your miniature by making those choices, fitting that in. The reason I use Dark Angel Space Marines as an example for that, creating that kind of contrast, is that you can then take something like the Deathwing, and you're using the same 3 colors, like green, red, and bone, and flip them around so that now your model has, it's mostly light tone with the bone, but then you use green and red for the accents. You get the rest of your balance there. Scott, what do we got? Sorry, just checking some of the chat. Sean says magenta isn't a true color. It's not on the visible spectrum as it doesn't have a wavelength of light.
And that's why I wrote it lives somewhere in the indigo to ultraviolet area of the spectrum. Like it's one of those purpley, sort of purple adjacent colors.
Right. I'm going to suggest that because we can see it, it does exist somewhere in the visible spectrum. That's just me, but I understand what you're saying. There's a science to it beyond what we're talking about here. Scott says, my typical palette really lives in the middle ground, neutral in hue, color, and not strong enough in light and dark value. It photographs fine, but playing games, it doesn't really stand out. That's one of the big things when you're taking models that you've painted under your light here, that again, as Scott said, photograph well. When you take them to an environment that isn't as well lit as your painting area, those colors, and because if they're all similar tones, they will start to sort of run together and look a little bit dull.
I always do the arm length test.
Right.
So I hold my model, at arm's length, and if it looks good and everything pops, it's good.
Right.
If I'm ever like, that doesn't really, I can't really see that, or that doesn't really stand out, I'll go back and I'll add a layer or add a highlight or something.
Yep. Nice. Scott says, why are we trying to give magenta the Pluto treatment? Come on, guys, let magentas live. I'm good with it. I'm good with letting magenta live in the visible spectrum. But tonal contrast, one of the things other things I always talk about here as well is go into a little bit of the sort of the interior decorating kind of approach, where when you're picking a color scheme, going for a 70-20-10 kind of split. If you go into like Home Depot or Lowe's or some other hardware store, pick up your little pamphlet from the paint color company or the like interior paint company.
Oh, like any one of them, like Behr or
any one of them, Behr, Sherwin-Williams.
You're talking about like all the Pantone like slips.
I'm not talking about picking up individual slips or individual swatches, but if you pick up the booklets that will say like, you should try these 3 colors.
Oh yeah.
They'll have a picture of a room painted with those 3 colors. When you look at it, they haven't gone and painted a third of the room in one color and a third of the room in another color and a third of the room in the third color. They've split it into, there's one color that is the dominant color, then there's the next color that is the secondary color, and then there's an accent color.
Right.
So looking at the Dark Angels there, I would say probably for these ones that the dark green is the 70%, the red is probably the 20%, and then the bone is 10% sort of accent. So that you've got it's not a equivalency across the model, across your sort of color choices, but there's a choosing your color schemes like that can help you to focus attention on things. So going back to the Sludge Army, brown is my 70% color. Brown or black, really. Those two work together. And then the magenta and the yellow are those two. There's a secondary and the accent color. So depending on the models, that'll switch around.
So Josh wants to know, do you try to carry that 7-20-10 across an army or inverse it to emphasize certain units and models? I think my take would be that depending on the army, you would just inverse it. Like the Dark Angels are a perfect example because depending on the unit, it's completely backwards. So like if you go forward a slide to your like this guy, it's completely backwards. So now 70% of the model is now the light tone.
Yep.
20% is that mid tone, which is his green. And then
in this case, that's the dark tone.
Yeah, sorry, the dark tone. And then his red, it's like his daggers, and I'm sure the shield is red and his knee pad is red. Like, so it's now that's the 10%. So
yeah. I think you can switch it around sort of whichever way you want to go with that, Josh. The most obvious way is to flip it completely. But if you were to do a unit that was mostly for Dark Angels that was mostly red, like 70% red, 20% bone, and 10% green, you can make a very cool looking unit like that. In something like the lore of 40k, perhaps it wouldn't work particularly well as a Dark Angels unit. But when you're talking about Eldar, if you started with like an Orthway army that was 70% black, 20% bone, and 10% yellow, you can flip those around quite a lot. You can do a lot of mixing to get some cool results.
I mean, the Blood Angels are like that. Like the three main colors for Blood Angels are red, black, and yellow, or gold. Like yellow and gold, I think, are kind of interchangeable. So depending on which unit you're painting, like most of the army is going to be red with some black and a splash of gold or yellow.
Yeah.
Unless you're painting Death Company, in which they're mostly black with a little bit of red and a splash of gold, or it's stuff like Dante or the Sanguinary Guard, which are gold with a little bit of black and a little bit of red and a splash of black. So like literally that army, you get all three versions of that color palette.
Yep.
I think the Dark Angels, the only thing they don't have is they don't have anything that's like, there's no red units.
Yeah. Yep.
So like you don't really get all three versions, but with the Blood Angels you do, and I'm sure with the Eldar you could do it. I'm sure that there's other chapters that you could do it with too. So
yeah, very definitely. Patrick has joined us. Hi, Patrick. And Scott says, my opinion on army painting: it's okay to go crazy and deviate from all the colors from one vehicle to the next. I think it's a unified basing scheme and keeping details similar that will help it all belong. And Josh says Jake's just trying to sneak Bruins colors into the Space Marines.
There's no red in the Bruins uniform, but
right. Bruins are yellow and black.
Yeah, black and gold.
Black and gold. So the Imperial Fists. There we go.
Yeah,
what they actually look like is they look like the when they invert the color scheme on like the Terminators and like what's his name's unit, where they're mostly black with like lots of yellow detail.
Right.
Because even their home uniform or their away uniform it's mostly white with black and gold.
Right. Okay.
Like their true colors are black, white, and gold. They're not just black and gold.
Sure.
Because they don't really wear a yellow uniform. Like they have, but it's not traditionally something that they do.
Okay, that's cool. I was just thinking from your jersey. Oh well, your hoodie last week. It was primarily. I don't know what that is. But yeah, so for my money, hue and tone are the two most important contrasts. And then I move on to saturation. So saturation contrast, I think, is also a very important thing. As we've talked about when we look at Chris Gorka's work, Chris does a lot of desaturated colors with that wonderful pop of saturated. So we always recognize that that contrast when we see it. But when we talk about saturation, you talk about the more pure the hue is, how close it is towards that yellow or the red or the orange, the green, whatever it happens to be. And here is a great sort of little primer for talking about tints, tones, and shades, which is probably why I actually need to mess around with that tone contrast idea. I've got to change that. Change the word. Tints being the hue with white being added to it, tones being the pure hue with gray being added to it, and shades being the pure hue with black being added to it. So saturation,
which is always hilarious, because when you tint your windows, you are adding black to them.
Right.
Or if you are wearing tinted sunglasses, it means that they are black.
Right. Yeah. That's some of the commercial thing. I'm not worried about that. But when you're talking about mixing paints, this is for mixing paints or mixing inks. Think about these. Here's an example of some other models. Basically, when I was going through this, putting this together today, I just grabbed a whole bunch of photos from those articles that I wrote. But saturation contrast here.
That is the most adorable baby Stegosaurus I have ever seen.
It is, isn't it? I can't remember where it's from. It might be from This Is Not a Test. But anyway, so desaturated greens on like blue greens on the body of it, and then that saturated orange through to yellow for the scales gives a great contrast. Had I gone through and just painted like a brownish orange with a desaturated yellow, you can just imagine how it wouldn't have popped as well. So Matt Ball, sorry. So Matt Ball said, "Isn't that why they call sunglasses shades?" Got it there. Scott's suggesting drowned earth for the Stegosaurus. I don't think so. I don't think it is. But anyway, next model along is from a board game, I think. But the guy that we're looking at has a might be a rogue, something might be from a D&D thing, but looks like he's got a pet rat or a ferret sitting on his hand there.
Looks like he has a robot hand also.
It does look like he's got a robot hand, but it might be the angle. It might have a sword. It was 3 years ago that I painted this model. It's probably still sitting over there on the desk there.
I think you're right. I think it is a sword. I think he has a cutlass with a like a handguard.
Right. But the way that I've painted him was desaturated green for his trousers, like a desaturated sort of beige for his shirt, dark desaturated leathers for the vest and sort of bits and pieces, but then that saturated pop of purple running across the middle for his belt. So again, just throws in something a little bit different, mainly because the pants and the shirt had elements of yellow in it. That's where I went for a purple for the belt. So using that hue and using some saturation contrast there, it's a bit different. And then the last model that we've got on here is from the Triumph of St. Catherine piece from the Sisters of Battle army.
I love that model.
It's such a cool model. I don't think I'd ever use one in a Sisters of Battle army.
Yeah, I agree. But it looks so nice.
It is fantastic. Yeah, it'd be a great center. Like if you paint up the whole thing as the model as it's intended, I think it'd be a great centerpiece for an army to sit on the shelf. But
they have some of my favorite models. They have some of my favorite models in the range. I love Saint Celestine and her 2 Gemini Superior are like 3 of the nicest models. And then I love Morven Vol. She is just an amazing kit. Yeah,
absolutely. But with this model, the saturation contrast again, they've got the sort of a blue-green going on with the robes, but they're quite shaded, quite desaturated. So I've got a lot of sort of black mixed into there, grays mixed into the shawl for that white shawl. But then that brazier has got the saturated, again, oranges and yellows. It's very easy to do saturated yellows. It's quite difficult to do a good job of desaturated yellows, I think, or desaturated oranges. It starts to move into browns then. So they're always a good choice for working with some saturation. Oh, we've got Amos joining us, Blood Demon Painting. Welcome.
What's going on?
So, and Matt Bowles, thank you very much, Matt, has reminded us to say, please take a moment and like the stream if you haven't, if you're in the chat and you're watching the show, like the stream for us, and make sure you subscribe. Jake was saying we've had almost 40 new subscribers over the last week.
Yeah, which is great. Like that's awesome for us.
Super exciting. So hopefully we'll get have a bit more of a roll going on. But saturation contrast is something to think about when you're working on an army. Going back to that sludge army, obviously the saturated magenta and the saturated yellow balances against the desaturated browns and blacks we've got going on for the rest of the model.
Oh, Patrick, I'm here for that.
Yep.
If you did a Sisters Army that's all like retro 90s like synthwave or retro 80s synthwave like Miami Vice colors, I'm 100% here for that.
I was thinking I wasn't thinking Miami Vice, but I was thinking synthwave at some point. And
like crazy magentas and like electric blue and
that
would look awesome.
One of the things talking about a saturation contrast there. So obviously, like having that bright neon like magenta and neon blue or neon like teal, turquoise, you go, well, there's no contrast in the saturation there. And it's like, well, actually, those work really well when they're placed against like a black or a very dark background, or they work really well against a white or a very light background, which is also going to be desaturated. So to get those two things to work, you've got to have them against that desaturated sort of feel.
David's talking about trying a 72010 on his block dreads as he's having an issue with paint schemes.
Yep.
I think part of it is like because he's made his own chapter and like it's so big.
Yep.
My favorite thing whenever I design a new army, especially if I'm making it up, is laying everything out. So I'm like, here's what a standard tactical marine looks like. And then this is what a sergeant looks like. And then this is what a lieutenant looks like. And then this is what a captain looks like. And then it's like, this is what my veterans look like. This is first company. This is any specialized, units or specialized companies. And then once I have that, then I can kind of break down and do variations of that paint scheme.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But now I think that'll definitely be helpful, Dave. Because there are so many panels on something like a Dreadnought, there's so many different ways that you could go. But starting with a restriction like that 70-20-10 can be very helpful in making decisions, without a doubt. And when we're talking about that tonal contrast, put your your light colors next to your dark colors. Don't put. You might have other sort of sundry colors. So you might have blacks or browns or grays or dark silvers that aren't part of the scheme. That choice of sort of three main colors. Try not to put those directly next to the darkest color. Get your tonal contrast working across the model. But Dave also said he started using Corvus Black on his troops instead of straight black. So Corvus Black, that's GW paint, I think. Has a little bit of blue in it. But he said it just looks better. And Matt says, yeah, the touch of blue in the black does help. Scott says, I think saturation is really what grabs attention from the 3 feet and beyond in tabletop range. Yeah, saturation contrast does that. It's important to have the saturated colors against desaturated colors to give that pop.
Louise says, I'm getting the idea when something doesn't go well with what I'm painting, my face changes to an extremely saturated red.
Right. Yep. And good can do that. Fantastic. Excellent. And Dave says, Heresy ones follow that standard paint schemes, but doesn't work as well for the box dreads. Yeah, being able to work out different ways around it will be helpful. Temperature contrast is the next one. When I grab this photo, grab this image again, it's the color wheel.
Yeah, this looks familiar. I feel like we've seen this.
We have seen this before. When I put it into the article, I thought that I'd put in a line through this that separated sort of the warm from the cool.
Well, it's pretty easy. Basically, at high noon, you've got red and like indigo. So if you take a line and you draw it from indigo straight through to where yellow is, everything that's on the top right side is warm colors, and everything on the bottom left is your cool colors.
Are you saying from here?
Yep, right there. Draw a straight line down. There you go.
Through to here?
Yep.
So that's that's pretty much it through there.
Yeah, everything to the right of that line is your warm colors. Everything to the left of that line is your cool colors.
Yep. So an important thing to say, though, is that you can get... so this green in here is a warm green.
Yep.
Whereas these greens over here are cool greens. This is a cool purple. This is a warm purple. So
there is just for those at home, there is no such thing as a warm blue.
That's true. You can get warmer blues.
You can get warmer blues, but they're all cool blues.
This is true. A lot of it comes down to sort of what you're putting next to it.
Yeah, there are blues, and you can make blues cooler, but their blues are always cool tones, just like red is always a warm tone. You can get warmer reds, but there's no such thing as a cooler red.
Well, no, you can get cooler reds.
No, there's red, and then there's a warmer red.
When you move into desaturated tones, that's when
it's still a warm tone.
Yes, but you can have cooler or warmer within the opposite of the temperature. But temperature is again, it just becomes a different. You don't always have to have temperature choices that are opposite, but it gives you an opportunity to create more contrast in your models here. So my examples here, I've got a Chaos Knight on the left. So that big red cape, which is warm.
See, my eye is immediately drawn to all of the blue-white you have. So like his cloak looks like ice to me. And then the plasma guns have that like screaming, right. like it's so hot it's come back around, like a blue gas flame.
Yep. Sorry, just noticed that Matt said blue is so hot right now. And Lee said, haha, literally sitting here doing temperature edits on a few hundred photos of men's lacrosse. Shot in April in sunshine, but on a cold day. I'm deciding how warm or chilly the day will appear.
Nice.
Yep, that's definitely cool. That's definitely great. You get to decide whether it's cool or warm. Yes, I have used a very pale blue as a lot of my cold colors in these models that are on the screen at the moment. But
by the way, those are great lamenters.
Yep, some fantastic lamenters. Back when those firstborn Marines were on 25 mil bases, so you can see those guys.
That guy's barely on a base,
hanging off the edge of the base. There, I still have them. They're sitting over there. They're not a full army. I started painting those at the beginning of 7th edition, and then played some 7th edition games with them. And 7th edition was terrible, so I gave up on the army.
I think at some point I'm going to sell all my firstborn. I have so many firstborn Marines.
Well, you could sell them to Dave, probably. Dave Hummel.
If he wants them,
he might have some room for some more.
You could add another whole company.
But yeah, so with those lamenters, which are a warm, very warm yellow, they've got those sort of rich orange undertones. I could have gone with like a magenta or a pink for the plasma glow, or an orange, but that wouldn't have given me sort of maximum contrast. So I made the decision, go with the blue for that. If I was painting Ultramarines with that blue, I wouldn't choose this blue to go for their plasma.
Oh no, absolutely. Like, I mean, I'm doing the same thing with my the Flesh Eaters. The whole reason I bought that plasma coil glow is because they're red models. Like, I wanted to have something that's deliberately opposite. So I went with a blue plasma. If I was doing Ultramarines, I'd probably do my plasma, like I'd buy that new whatever heat shield glow, which is like orange. I'd probably use that because I don't want it to be red, but I'd probably do orange.
Yep. Oh, sure. And then my Skitari for my Adeptus Mechanicus army, red cloaks, red uniforms there.
Well, I mean, you have to. They're Mechanicus.
Well, yeah. They're definitely also an army from Mars.
Right.
So that bright red. So again, for any of the coils, I went with that blue, that softer blue. Again, so that to get maximum contrast on the models, on the tabletops. Dave Hummel says, nope. He already has 1,200 firstborn, so he doesn't need any more.
You might make it a nice even 1,400.
Yep. Scott says, Jake, PR 179 is a cool red. Alizarin Crimson. It's called Alizarin Crimson. PY151 is a cold yellow. I got schooled on the same statement you made.
So he's just throwing numbers at me. Like that's some weird Canadian math. Like I wouldn't buy that. That's not correct.
Fantastic. Dave Hummel says, I did notice that I've contrasted the purity seals on my troops. Most are red seals with a lot of the reds, or with a lot of red already on the models. Disappears on the red armor, whereas when I went to the blue seals, it looked a lot better. Exactly.
Oh, see, I always invert. I always invert my purity seals.
Yeah.
So if I'm doing any model that's a normal color, any model that's a cool color. So blue. If I'm doing ultramarines or dark angels, my purity seals are red. And if I'm doing any models that are warm, I usually do green purity seals. So all my blood angels have green purity seals, except for the Death Company, which have red purity seals.
Yeah. I for my Falling Stars, the Fjalnar Storna, I went with a desaturated red, or a darker desaturated red, because I didn't want that to be the color that distracted people. So by desaturating it and putting that against the desaturated gray, they don't pop out as much.
Right. Yeah.
It's a deliberate choice there. So temperature contrast is an important thing. Always think about how you're going to use that. The next one is something that people don't think of a lot, particularly when they're creating their armies. There we go. Scott says, those are universal pigment codes. Universal, Jake. The pigments I listed there are for those heavy-duty paint mixing. For heavy-duty paint mixing. Those codes read off to me by Chimera Pure. Read to me off the Chimera Pure pigment bottles. Anyway, next bit, texture contrast.
Yeah, I was going to say texture too. A lot of times you can create texture on models just by doing different painting techniques.
Yep.
So like it doesn't have to be like sculpted fur versus a cloak. Like you can literally just add texture by, do like cross hatching or like little markings and stuff. You can kind of create a lot of that. But no, I agree. Texture makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. So we've got two textures there, obviously, rusty and cloth.
Dude, what is that guy with the giant hammer arm? That thing's great.
He's from an old range of steampunk minis that is now kind of defunct, unfortunately. But he is awesome. He's the Toad. It was set in the Docklands in London.
He is great. He's got like robot leg braces on and then like a minigun.
Yep. And that enormous stone hammer with all the pistons, the metallic pistons. So he's an example of textures that I've gone and painted through there. So he's got, leather straps are different through the metallic pistons, or his the sort of the caps on his boots there. There's different again to his vest, to the smoke, to the stone hammer.
That guy's great.
Not Smog. It wasn't Smog, Scott. I've got some more of them down here. I have no idea why the name isn't coming to me. Hopefully it will, but one day. A couple of other examples up there. The guy on the sort of in the center is from Eldorado. It's kind of crazy that Sam mentioned Eldorado last week with the
so that's 2 weeks in a row now. Eldorado minis have been on it. I
know, it's crazy. They haven't been available for like 7 or 8 years. But again, he has a lot of leathers and metallics and little sort of demony bits and pieces. The model to the right of that is a Puppets War model, not from the Polish company. Okay, the Polish company is Puppets War. Is that right?
Well, there's a couple.
I'm talking about the one that starts with puppet and ends with
that's Puppets War.
Puppets War. Okay, so this is from Puppet Wars. which was made by Weird Miniatures back in the day, sort of early on in their Malifaux gaming. But yeah, this guy, a lot of great textures on him that I painted on, including that he's sort of met like a scarecrow burlap sack kind of skin texture.
Scott wants to know if it's twisted minis.
No, it's not twisted either. It was from a guy in the UK, James, who was from Nottingham. I can't remember. It'll come to me. Infamy Miniatures. So yeah, the game was going to be called Infamy. It had a whole lot of sort of interesting reworkings of classic Victorian characters. But yeah. Yes, Malifaux Miniatures puppets, Seamus. And Scott has one in his table. But also there on the left is the Chaos Lord on Karkadrak from a Slaves of Darkness army. So different texture, a lot of different textures going on there. The fur, the cloak has a fabric texture painted onto it. The scales, or the sort of the main scales on the back of the Karkadrak have texture painted onto them as well to give that more of a striated, bony look. There are a lot of, basically, you look at that and go, okay, well, of course they're all going to be different textures, they're different things. But when the model is sort of, the surface of the model is the same, so the smooth cloak is the same as the smooth scales or the smooth armor. The trap that we fall into a lot of times is just painting them all the same texture. It's absolutely fine. A lot of people do it, but if you're looking for a different way to pump up the contrast and pump up that, therefore that definition and that interest in your model, texture is a great way to go. How you work that into army painting? Keep it fairly simple. Maybe have two main textures, because you don't have to go through and paint every single model in a 100 model army with it.
You can also mix it up with like damage or different effects.
True. Yeah. I guess, yeah, when I was talking about the rust there, using some rust effect paints like the Dirty Down rust effects or the War Paints Fanatics range. So there's fresh rust. What's the other rust?
I think it's dry rust.
Dry rust. Yeah. So that's another way you can use using some effect paints, which also leads us into the next and my final type of contrast that I talk about is finish contrast. And you notice that's finish with just one N, so we're not talking about the Scandinavian country. Okay. But when I talk about finishes, I'm talking about whether something is matte, satin, or gloss. And anyway, sort of along that sort of spectrum. So you can add more interest and depth to your models by switching those up a little bit. So
is that like organs on the right?
Yes. Yes. Those are organs. It's
classy. It's very nice.
For those who are listening, there's a photo of a fly, a very close-up photo of a fly. You can see the sort of sheen of the iridescent.
It is a green bottle fly, in fact.
Green bottle fly. There we go. You'll notice that the eyes look fairly matte.
Yep.
Image. A little bit more sheen on the carapace. And then, yes, to the right is a pile of innards. I suspect it's from probably a deer.
Now, I had assumed that Dave was going to show us something family friendly, like a candy apple or a lollipop or something like that. Not, all in.
Well, how often do you paint lollipops and candy apples on miniatures?
It's just the effect.
Yeah, it is. Amos says, I think I see a liver. You probably do. But on models, particularly like Nurgle models, or there's all sorts of things, all sorts of models that you can use finish to create that additional pop of contrast. If you're painting Space Marines, putting in a little gloss varnish on the eyes, There's that extra.
Well, and you get options now too, because now technically you have 3. You can either get gloss varnish,
Yep.
you can get matte varnish, or you can get satin varnish.
Yep.
And I always tell people, like, if they're asking me what varnish I should use, the
Sure.
correct answer is
You never use gloss varnish unless you want like that candy apple coat look.
Yeah.
Or if it's something that's supposed to be wet.
Yeah.
And then
like in pus.
Yeah, like matte varnish is great, but if you're painting skin, matte varnish looks weird because we are not flat. So I usually tell people if you're gonna have something that's a lot of skin, you should be using satin varnish.
Right.
Or anything that's natural should be satin varnish.
Right. Things like cloth, like a regular like a cotton or wool or that kind of thing can look good with a matte varnish.
Yep.
A matte
they look good either. But like if you were painting a bunch of horses, I would satin varnish them. Like when I did my Wood Elf Blood Bowl team, I satin varnished them. When I painted like a bunch of ratlings, I satin varnished them. When I did Space Marines, I matte varnished them because again they're wearing ceramite, which is supposed to be like big plates of like tile. So I'm fine with them looking like really dry.
Yep, absolutely. But yeah, these are some fun examples that I use in those articles to talk about finish contrast.
Those chaos demons from Kill Team are great.
The Galloppox infected.
Yeah, they're so awesome.
Yeah, they are. They're excellent. But I did a lot of work on finish contrast for my Death Guard army as well. But yeah, that's the final one that I always look at. Is it as important? Does it? If you were to paint a model that was had like dark greens and dark reds and some black and maybe a little bit of silver, would the contrast what they were finished with, whether you had like a glossy black and a matte red, would that help to create contrast? It would, very definitely. Is it the primary thing that you're going to notice at arm's length or in a dimly lit hall? Not really. Tonal contrast, hue contrast and saturation contrast are the sort of the 3 most important ones. If you're going with hue contrast, typically that'll end up falling into helping you out with making choices in a temperature contrast range. Finish contrast is kind of one of those last things to look at, but it can be quite important for creating contrast. So hue, tone, saturation, temperature, texture, and finish are the 3 types of contrast that I always look at when I'm working out a scheme. And I use that to inform a lot of different things. We're talking about my sludge army as I'm sort of been going through things. Because I've got a lot of that, a lot of the brown is has quite a bit of orange in it. It's at the orange end of the brown spectrum. What I'm going to end up doing, I think, is, and because I mentioned before, I'm working on that idea of very desaturated and darker on the back of the models and more saturated and brighter on the front of the models. My basing will end up with following that same sort of look. It's going to be brighter at the front, probably not saturated, but certainly going to be brighter. And then towards the rear, it's going to be darker. So I think once I've got everything painted up and in place, I'm probably going to go through and hit the back side of the bases, the back part of the bases with like a thin down sort of dark blue. So do something that's sort of quite different from the regular look, but again, informed by the other colors that I've used.
Nice.
And the choices there. So there we go. Just looking quickly, Dave Hummel says matte on Marines, gloss on Idoneth, satin on Bretonian Night Tabards. That's how Dave makes his choices. He says lighting can heavily affect your presentation as well. What you paint under, look the same as when you get those models to an event or into its display case.
There was a kid at my store who did
He did his Tyranid army, and he basically painted all of the. How did he do it? He painted the entire army, and then he matte varnished the entire army, or he satin varnished the entire army, and then he went back and he gloss varnished all of the shells.
Okay.
So they have that like beetly, like iridescent carapace look to them.
Right. Yep. Yeah. I think I primarily use a satin varnish. That's my main focus.
Yeah, most of mine's satin, but I have a lot of matte for power armor.
Right. And Cal says, "What are those? What those troops are for? What game? They are for Sludge, which is a game by Sean Sutter from Metal King Studio. We had Sean on as a guest earlier in the season,
Yeah, like a month ago.
Yep. So you can definitely head back and check that out. And there's a little bit of a conversation about Sludge in that. I've been super excited about it since then. So really enjoying it. So there we go. How can this help you make color scheme decisions? So think about that. Next time you're putting together a color scheme, think about those different examples of contrast. Maybe come back and watch this section of the video again, so you can go through and make those decisions along the way. Louise says, I need to do my homework on contrast painting. I didn't realize that. Very informative information. Thank you, guys. You are welcome.
No problem.
Yep. It's something that I spend a lot of time thinking about, for sure. Fantastic. So that is the end of that section of the show. Hopefully that was beneficial. Obviously, Luis has found it beneficial. Trust us, if you don't find color theory will find you. Exactly. One other example I'm going to throw out there: if you're trying to come up with a color scheme for an army, for a unit, for a single model, it doesn't matter, and you're really stuck, have a look at what else is out there. Have a look at another color scheme, like another army that you really like the look of, another set of models that you really like the look of, another fantastic single display piece that somebody else has created. Pick 3 colors from there. Use those as your color scheme, because if it's already looking good to you, chances are it's going to work on your models. And then you can go back and have a think about these contrasts and see how it might work in the context of those. But yes.
God.
You okay? You gonna make it?
Yeah, I'm starting to fade.
Babe, okay. Well, let's jump in and have a look at the fantastic minis that were provided by our wonderful community.
What do we got?
So these are all from the Build Paint Play Facebook group, Build Paint Play community. Please come along, join the group, and post your models each week. So
this guy looks great.
So yeah, this is from Amos. So he's in the chat as Blood Demon Painting. But yeah, looking fantastic. So this is the ghost keel that he had work in progress of last week.
I love that his white isn't white.
Right. Yep.
It's got some blue tones in it. It's got some cream tones in it. I think the battle damage helps out a lot. I really like this model.
Yep. And the working the pigments up the legs as well.
Has he got his piano key fingers?
Yep. They're looking great. But yeah, that's and again, so obviously talking 70% white is 70% of this model. The darker colors, so the darker gray and silvers and golds are probably the 20% of the model, and then 10% is the red. So yeah, looking great, Amos. It looks awesome. He said the base color is light warm gray from Pro Aquarel. Fantastic.
The base on this model is really cool too, because it's all like earth tones.
Yep.
So I love that he's basically, it's like, this is like the Tal version of my flesh eaters.
Right. Yep. Yep. This is like the my sludge guys. It's all warms except for that little pop of a cold color. But yeah, excellent. And I'm hitting the wrong button in the wrong place. There we go. Amos's next unit is a unit of breaches, I think.
Nice.
Again, going with that scheme, and you see that lovely blue tau skin popping out on the head of the leader,
and all the feet
and the toes. Yeah, so great. Great to see the tau toes out. Must be summer. But yeah, looking awesome, Amos. Very cool. Chris Duffy has painted up this excellent Chaos Lord on Karkadrak.
This is great. I love how dark he looks. Like it's so like sinister looking.
Yep.
Like the only real pops of colors are the thing's eyes and his eyes.
Right. Yeah, you got that green in there.
Well, I guess, and there's like he's got like some emblems on the axe blade.
Right. Yep.
But those are the only colors, like to what we just talked about. They're pops of color, but they're also cool tones, and the whole model is warm.
The rest of it's warm. Yeah. So what I would work with here is probably like a tonal contrast. So I'd pump up the highlights on probably the top of the shoulders and the leg armor to really give some extra contrast, particularly at range on a thing. But the other thing that's creating some contrast is you've got that shiny silver, shiny metal.
Yep.
Compared to the more dusty sort of skin and bony plates.
Yeah, so different finish.
Yep. Different finishes working well there. But no, looking great, Chris. Next up, Chris Gorka. Showed us a unit of these guys from Conquest.
Yep.
Last Argument of Kings. I can't remember the name of the unit.
I don't know what these are. I want to say they were Freet, but
okay. But yeah, they're from one of the pardon me, one of the newest armies. But I'm really worried about all that sort of fire coming out from inside them. I knew I would get to a point where I needed some water.
Yeah, these models are cool.
Okay, sorry about that.
Like we talked about, like, so his models, like they're with their purple skin tones and their blue clothing, they're very cool, which offsets like the heat from the warm tones from the fire. So
yeah, and also desaturated blue, desaturated purple skin means that saturated yellow and orange can really pop. But yeah,
see, I think the blue on the pants is saturated.
No, not at all.
Like the edges, that like almost turquoise color.
Yeah, no, that's very desaturated. There's a lot of gray in that. Yeah, it'd be a lot brighter, I think. It's not as desaturated as it could be, but yeah. Excellent work, Chris, by the way. Cliff Edders posted this guy. He picked it up for his Orc Army. This is from Badger Games, I think, who are in Wisconsin, strangely enough. But I think Cliff picked these up at Adepticon, and he's got a few more that he's going to be adding to the group. But this was a little conversion that he did.
That little guy up the front is going to go deaf for sure.
Yeah, I would say he's probably already deaf. It's such as a Grot's life. Yep. Scott says you won that round.
Yes, I saw.
Scott's wrong. But yeah, excellent work there. So if I'm looking forward to seeing these guys painted up. It'll be cool. Drew painted up a whole bunch of Star Wars stuff recently.
These are great.
So yeah, so it's got a whole bunch of stuff for Star Wars Legion. It's absolutely crazy the number of different schemes that you can throw into Stormtrooper White. Excellent. Nice work, Drew.
I like the squad marking suit. Yeah, dude, these are great.
Yep. Yeah, these look fantastic. That obviously that red is the that saturated sort of pop color. I love the gray panels on the armor as well, and the black, not just again acres of white.
Yeah, these are cool.
Yep, beautiful work there, Drew. He was just saying these are Ahsoka's troopers.
I'll take his word for it. I didn't watch Rebels or Clone Wars.
So yeah, I expect this would have been from Clone Wars. But yeah, definitely looked like it. Great work. Excellent, Drew. Drew also painted up Yoda and Padme.
Yoda's so great.
Yeah. Looks awesome. Great work there, Drew. Nice one. Eric didn't post this in the group, but I wanted to. I saw him post it, so I stole it and stuck it in. It's a piece of box art that he's just finished.
Dude, that is awesome.
Baobab, I think, miniatures. It is awesome, isn't it?
All the blue tattoo work on him.
Yeah. And you know what that blue tattoo work over that ruddy skin does?
It creates contrast.
Well, great contrast, but it gives it a purple look.
Yeah.
So it's contrasting against the gold, which is great there.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
Yeah. Beautiful work, Eric.
I like how the demon head still has a glowing eye.
Yep. It'll fade. It'll fade soon. It's a fresh kill. But yeah, the pants are fantastic too, aren't they?
That's really, really good.
Fine pinstripe. Gorgeous work. I think Eric said he feels he went a little bit overboard with the tattoos, but I think it's just right. Awesome. So this is Sulin Liu. He joined very recently, so this is his first post.
Yeah, this is fantastic. The tones, the play of light on the headpiece, is so cool. And he did a lot of what Sam was talking about last week, which is like, obviously the light on this model is coming from here. It's coming from like her left side, so the back of the model is darker.
Yeah,
like when you turn her around.
Yeah, we're looking at almost.
There's still I like that there's still like bits of light playing off the knife to like draw the eye to it.
Yeah, just enough sort of shining through there, and also playing along the edges around the top of the headdress on the back.
Really, really cool.
Yeah, and also the work on the sheer cloth is awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, beautifully done. So hopefully we'll get to see some more work from Sulin.
Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah. Beautiful. Joshua Danker, I think this was Joshua's first post.
Yeah.
Some
squat or was it Ironhead Prospectors?
Yeah, Ironhead Prospectors. So squat from Necromunda with the awesome bolt cannon.
Yeah, I love that it's double barreled.
Well, this thing shoots out fires out like 4 shots a turn, which is pretty beefy for Necromunda. But yeah, I'm loving the that sort of saturated orange there as well. Bright construction orange. Looking excellent. Yep. Beautiful work, Josh. Looks great.
And it's an actual squat.
Yeah. Fantastic. Scott said, talking about Sulin, said this dude is awesome. He's over on Ben Comet's Patreon Discord. You got to see this developing. It's a great talent. I believe he usually posts as Dan Hammer. So if you see Dan Hammer around, this is who it'll be. Yeah, definitely go check out the post in the Facebook group. There are a couple more photos there, and let him know you're loving his stuff. Do the same with actually we'll do the same with everybody's. It'd be great. Very cool. Yeah, great work there, Josh. Looking awesome. Kelly Rowe has also been painting up some Star Wars. Decided to paint up these two.
Nice.
Yeah. Looks great.
Classic.
These are from Shatterpoint. And the crazy thing is, I can't quite tell. I think that Kelly might have replaced the lightsabers with like colored rod.
But maybe, yeah. I don't know. I can't tell.
I'm not 100% sure. It has that kind of look to it. but at the same time, maybe not. I don't know. But beautiful OSL work there, Kelly, on Luke. Looking really good.
That's really
Excellent
cool
stuff. And I love so Kelly's taken the sort of the work on the base a little bit differently so I just went with a fairly straightforward black, kind of look through the grate. Chris does a lot of like a magenta glow on his bases, Chris Corker.
Yeah,
but Kelly's gone for a sort of a reddish almost lava glow. So this could be
these models are so hard to paint too, because it's like Vader is wearing all black and Luke is wearing all black, and you have to get your contrast somewhere. So with Vader, he's done a great job of doing some of it's satin, some of it's matte, some of it's gloss. So it breaks up the miniature without, making him not great. Like we talked about this a couple weeks ago. I don't like when people paint black, but then they don't paint it black.
Right.
And he did a great job of like breaking up the black, but it still looks like it's dark and it's black. There's no white edge highlighting or anything on this.
Yeah. Yep. I think the closest it comes to that is on the boots.
Sure, like the shine. Yeah,
like that gloss kind of look where you're looking for that maximum sort of tonal contrast, that highlight on there.
No, they look great. This is like sneaky good.
Yep. Excellent. Dave Hummel has pointed out that encouragement inspires creativity and continues the journey on the hobby path. So yeah, definitely go and encourage some folks to do some more awesome work. And then Kelly has also painted up this excellent Iron Man.
He just redid Iron Man.
You just redid him?
Yeah, because he was posting, like, he originally painted him a couple, like, I don't know, he painted him a while ago, and then he redid him.
Right. So, but yeah, looking very cool, Kelly.
Yep, I like it.
Great job there. Yep. I think that Matt Bowles says, is there a green on Vader as well? Looks like Luke Saber is illuminating.
I don't think there is. I think maybe because he used gloss varnish, I think it's reflecting off the gloss. Like it looks like it's in his eyes.
Yeah.
And I genuinely think it's because the light from the green, if Dave is right, I think the light from the green is bouncing off the gloss of Vader's like lenses.
Yeah, I think you're right there, Jake. That's good. But or it could just be an optical illusion. We're projecting green onto it. But I think you're right. I think it is the gloss that's reflecting it. But anyway, lovely work there, Kelly. Awesome. Christian's finished off another 10-man squad for his Sons of Horus.
Man, dude, Christian's just killing it. Like
he is. Absolutely.
Like, I mean, this is definitely his wheelhouse. Like this is where he lives. But these are so great. Like the Mark III Marines are awesome. I love their greaves. Like the way that their ankles and their greaves are so cool. Their helmets are rad. Like they just look awesome.
Yeah, these are the new Mark III Marines. When I say the new, when did they come out? Last year sometime. Maybe.
Yeah, but they're the third version of Mark III. So they're scaled to Horus Heresy, so they're a little bit bigger.
Yep. Yeah. Matt says Christian continues to be amazing. His speed is giving Dave a run for his money. Absolutely.
No, his speed is nowhere near as close as Dave's, because a lot of the stuff he was posting the last couple of weeks is stuff that he dug out from his collection.
Oh yeah, but
like these guys are new. And again, I'm not knocking Christian because Christian still paints faster than I do. But nobody touches Dave. Like Dave is like.
There are plenty of people out there who paint as fast as I do. But no, these are looking great, Christian.
Yeah, these are awesome.
I really loved this guy. Sort of singled him out.
I love the variety of helmets and all like the squad markings he put all over them.
Yep. Yeah, they do look really good.
Like these guys could be loyalists.
Almost. But yeah, they're clean enough.
I mean, like there's no skulls on belts. There's no
pus oozing out of that guy's head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could be.
I do like that he took the the Centurion's mohawk.
Yeah,
Put it on the backpack of that guy.
Yeah, that is cool. It's a nice little touch. But yeah, excellent work there, Christian. Nice one. Next up, so Luis has been painting up the Emperor's Champion, posting some of the different sub-assemblies as he's come close to finishing them. So definitely check those out. I think today, a couple of hours ago, he might have posted a picture of the body, the legs, and the torso.
Oh yeah.
So I didn't quite get a chance to grab those for the show, but definitely go and check those out. I think it might be. Sorry, there's notice Dave Hummel said sloths paint faster than I do, but yeah, I think so. It might be next week, might be the week after that we'll see the completed Emperor's Champion, but I think it's coming along really nicely. Beautiful work there. Excellent. Next up, we've got Mike Hughes.
Damn.
We showed the work in progress last week. This is from Chimera Models. And Mike has finished it up. But again, we're looking at wonderful sort of that reddish peachy color up on the wings.
Yeah, there's so many like variations of pink on this model.
Yeah. No. We're working through to the that sort of vibrant warpstone green on the base. It's something as well having he's sort of punched a lot of sort of yellow into the highlights.
Yep.
Particularly yellow for the highlights of the skin, but also in some of the armor plates, which again does a great job of contrasting against that purple, the loincloth.
Mike loves a non-metallic metal.
Oh yeah. But yeah, he does such a brilliant job. But awesome. But yeah, a lot of great examples here of those all those contrast sort of lessons that we just went through earlier tonight. But yeah, beautiful work there, Mike. Looks great.
Very good.
Nathan Sorensen posted this fantastic little diorama piece of it's kind of crazy. That's so we've got 2 Ambots and a couple of Orlocks who smashed their way through some Space Marines.
It's pretty great.
Yep. But looking at them, Space Marines are in like Heresy plate. Maybe Mark 4?
I think those are the Forge World Space Marine casualties.
Okay. It could be. But in that sort of gray armor with the red hands, kind of makes me think a little bit about the who was it?
The Dusk Raiders.
Dusk Raiders, yeah, thank you. Dusk Raiders. So I was wondering if this is a bit of a connection to sort of late or sorry, not late, but early Crusade.
Matt, I think the figure coming out of the red door is another Orlock, I think.
Yeah. Could be. But yeah, beautiful little diorama. And I think Josh Sawyer mentioned one of the comments on this piece was it's so cool we almost never see anything with a ceiling.
Oh,
so
yeah, that's true.
We're down inside the tunnel. We've got the ceiling on top of the tunnel. It gives that sort of tighter, claustrophobic look and really immerses you in the action.
Super cool.
Lee says casualties look 3D printed. You can see some angles on the smooth parts. Yeah, I was going to say something similar, but sort of around this area. That here, maybe you see, yeah, maybe some lines here, but not 100% sure. But looks great, Nathan.
Yeah, those are awesome.
Matt says it really does feel cramped, and Josh says you better all lock the door.
Probably.
But excellent work, Nathan. That's great. I want to see more of that. And then we've got a couple of shots from Stephen Ryder. Stephen painted up used these palette paper for another backdrop.
Very nice.
It's cool. A sort of two. Well, basically, it's a mountain valley looking down into a forest. It's yep, looks excellent. And these are some classic Grenadier models, Grenadier dwarves.
Damn.
I have a feeling. I think I had two of these. I think I had the lady in the middle and the guy on the left.
They are so chonky.
Yep. But they're teeny. They're on bottle caps.
Yeah, but I mean, like look at her shield compared to her. Her shield. Like if I was wearing that shield is like 5 inches thick.
yeah, for sure. I was going to say maybe 6, but yeah, sure. Let's go with 5. It's awesome. Matt Bald says, Steve, your palette paper is always a treat. Fantastic. But yeah, some great classic minis there, Stephen. Look awesome. Bring back the memories. Absolutely. And there we go. That's the end of the slideshow.
And believe it or not, we weren't really any shorter than we normally are.
I can't believe it. It's amazing. Ridiculous. Maybe it's because maybe it's our fault that the shows run long.
Probably.
Could be. Okay. Awesome. So there we are. We are at the end of another episode. So this is episode 17? So we have 3 more episodes in this season. Next week we've got Paul Murphy from Forge the Narrative. So we'll be talking a lot about gaming next week. The week after, episode 19, I don't think we've got anybody lined up for that just yet. We do have a short list of guests to invite. Week 20, we will have Hank and Matthias from Adepticon on, because that is the last week. What day is that? It's in the last week of May. But Memorial Day weekend, I am flying out to Milwaukee to visit the Baird Convention Center with the Adepticon team. So we'll get a walk through. The staff there are going to give us a walk through the center. We're going to get to have a look at all of the spaces that Adepticon is going to be using. Apparently, there's over 300,000 square feet that Adepticon is going to be using this year for the Schaumburg Marriott, the Convention Center, and the Hyatt, where all of the historical gaming was going on, was roughly 150,000 square feet.
Yeah, it's more than double.
So it's going to be crazy. But I'm going to get to go out there, shoot some video, take some photos, ask a lot of questions, so that when we come back, we can have that conversation with Hank and Matthias and talk about the new venue. Hopefully answer everybody's questions. So if you have some questions about the new venue, I'll start a thread in the Facebook group, or you can pop them down in the comments below of this video. But we'll try and get all of the questions answered. Hopefully we'll get to go out on Saturday night and wander around and check out the different food options. We'll stay at one of the connected hotels, all of that sort of good stuff. But yeah, I'm really excited about going on an adventure and finding out what's going to be happening at the new location. So we've got that happening. I think one of the things I'm also thinking about doing, Jake, that we'll need to talk about after the show, is possibly doing a bonus episode on the weekend after the Kickstarter for the Art of Volumes 10, 11, and 12 launch, and talking with Roman and Joshua, who are in Europe. So they're 6 hours ahead of us.
Oh, nice.
So it's a little bit late for them to come onto the standard Tuesday night show. Maybe we can do a bonus episode on a Sunday.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll chat about it. We'll see what the options are. But it'll be great to have them on and chat, just like we did with Sam last week.
I like that. Well, thank you guys for joining us, and we hope you guys got something out of this episode. We appreciate that. A huge shout out to our sponsor, the Army Painter. We really appreciate them taking care of us. Speaking of which, I had some news from them. They want me to come down and work for them at Nova. So
cool.
I think I'll be helping Kat at the Iron Painter booth at Nova.
Awesome.
So
that'd be super cool. Also, just before we go, I'm going to say, so I think Josh is going to be streaming tonight. So if you want to check out have some more hobby stuff going on, JP Got Rockets on Twitch. You can check out his stream kicking off pretty soon. Awesome.
We good?
I think we're good. I think let me just make sure I've got all the buttons pressed in the right place.
Yeah.
Yep, we should be good.
We'll see you guys. We'll see you guys next week. Everybody have a good week. Be safe. Get some gaming in. We will have Paul on with us next week. So if you want, you can check out some of his stuff online. If you want to like get a little feedback or get a headspace for what Paul's up to, we will see you next time. And as always, do not forget to build, paint, play.
Shut up and sit down.